Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are kind of doing a little breakfast for dinner. We are going to do a steak and potato skillet, fried eggs, and homemade biscuits. So let's get our bacon going in for our skillet potatoes. I had 2.5 packs of bacon, which, it goes into my fridge, and I was like, I guess I should have figured that out when I cut up some the other day for one of our meals. So I'm just going to take this out and we're going to cut it into strips and let them start sauteing up into nice little bits. This will saute up with our potatoes and make a delicious kind of skillet potatoes. So, and it's a great way to fry the potatoes too, is with that bacon grease. Just so lovely. Okay. Just give a little snippety snip. So we've got 1/2 pound there. Let's grab our other one and snip it in. So, and the reason, kitchen shears are really great for cutting up bacon. It's a little bit easier than a knife because sometimes that knife won't cut all the way through. And so then you got to like cut and cut and cut. I love my kitchen shears. It's ridiculous. I have like 6 pairs of kitchen shears. And I use probably 4 or 5 a day just for cutting up things. Okay, let's let those start frying up. Got my skillet on. I'm gonna go give my hands a quick rinse since they've been bakified. Okay. And I'll get out my tongs. I'm just gonna spread the bacon around and we're gonna let that kind of fatten up. And let's get our potatoes prepped and then we are going to work on our biscuits. So for our skillet potatoes, I'm just going to cut them into kind of small little cubes for it, kind of like a home style hash brown. You don't want them too big because you do want them to tender up nicely in the frying pan. So just nice little thin thing. And I'm using gold potatoes or yellow potatoes today because I made them the other day. We're skillet potatoes and everybody loved them. And you don't have to peel their skin, which is nice. Takes out an extra step, which is nice today when we're on a time crunch because my older daughter has tryouts. So that's why we're eating dinner so early for us. My kids are all, again, they're like, early dinner again? That's so weird. And last night, it was funny when we got home from soccer tryouts at around like 9:30. Everybody was like, okay, what's for dinner? And I was like, no dinner. We already ate it. We ate it like 3 hours ago. But, it's just, then they're so used to eating dinner at like 8:45, 9 o'clock at night. And when you switch it up for them, they get so thrown off. Okay, I don't think I'm going to use up all of these potatoes because we're only cooking for the 7 tonight. And, 2 of those are just itty bitties, so they don't eat quite as much. And Evie just doesn't like potatoes. There we go. So I think this will be good. We'll save these for another day. Just make sure. Let's give our bacon a nice little stir here. I'm going to be a very bacony skillet fried potatoes. Excellent. And let's get our biscuits going. Okay. We are going to start out with 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And these are going to be sourdough discard biscuits. They're just a classic, easy, yummy. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Don't use self-rising or bread flour. Then we are going to add in a tablespoon of baking powder. This is going to be the very last of my baking powder.
You got a question? How are the donuts?
Oh, excellent. Kids were very, very happy when they came. I think Torrance already had like 8 of them. And I'm like, okay, slow your roll. And then we are going to do a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm going to do a heaping because I was a little shy on my baking powder. And then we're going to do a half a teaspoon of salt. Hit there. I'm going to give this a nice little stir. Mix all that baking powder, baking soda into my flour and the salt. And then we're going to cut in 1 stick of cold butter. But before I do that, I'm going to check on my bacon. It's got a nice sizzle going. So I want to just turn it down a little bit. Give it a good stir. I will say, I love the smell of bacon. And this is like, it's my daughter's last day of tryout. Well, she has another program she's also trying out for, but last day of this one. So she loves steak and she loves potatoes and she loves bacon and fried eggs. So it's all of her favorite things for dinner tonight.
You have a question? I don't know what it is, but what are your thoughts on using bacon up?
I have to say, I do not know what bacon up is either. I'll have to look it up. Now I'm really curious because I've never heard of that. So I'll have to check it out. I wonder if it's a fake bacon. Okay. So we've got our stick of cold butter. And now we're going to use our pastry cutters. And we are going to cut the butter into the flour to where you have no pieces bigger than a pea. And this is just so that you have this butter all the way mixed throughout so you don't have any big butter pockets. And we'll do our press and folds later to give the lovely flaky layers for our biscuits. There we go. Just take my knife here and cut any of my butter that's stuck between the blades. We'll do it again. You could always do this with a food processor if you wanted, but we use just good old pastry knife like things. So easy. Takes you less than a minute. Just a little bit of elbow grease. And it's a lot less cleanup. It's a lot less cleanup now that I don't do dishes. So there we go. And we'll just cut through. So we've got our butter cut into our flour. So you just, again, don't want any super big pieces. Now we're going to do our wet ingredients. I'm going to get a small bowl for this and a spoon. Okay. We are going to do a cup of sourdough discard. And I will say I can tell my kitchen is warmer than usual because my discard is getting runny faster, which means I need to feed it a bit more often.
We have an answer. It's a brand of authentic bacon grease. So using bacon grease to cook with.
Ooh, that actually sounds delicious. I've never tried it, but I mean, I like cooking with bacon grease, and I would love to be able to buy bacon grease or lard, as they call it. I think that would be delicious. I'll have to try it. I'll have to see if I can find it. I don't need that one in here. So 1 cup of sourdough starter or discard. And then we need a half a cup of half and half. So a half of half and half. A triple half. There we go. You could also use buttermilk for this. And they'd be like a buttermilk biscuit and they would be lovely. I will say cream works better than whole milk or milk because you want the richer texture of it than that milk gives you. Milk's kind of watery, so you'd want to reduce a little bit if you use just plain milk, just a teensy bit out. Okay. We're mixing up this in here, kind of diluting it so that we can then pour it into our dry mix to make our biscuits. Okay. We are ready to add it. We are going to pour it in, and then we will mix it up. I'm going to scoop this all out.
Do you have a question about the starter? Does it need to be moved to the refrigerator if it gets runny?
If you don't want to feed it more often. During the winter, I could stretch it 2 days between feeding. I think in the summer, I'm going to have to feed it every single day. If your house is getting really warm, then it might be a better option to put it in your fridge in there. But a lot of times you have to give it a feeding and let it sit out a little bit before you can use it when it's in your fridge. So and I was consider. I'm like, I'm thinking about moving my chocolate starter to the fridge because I don't quite make that many chocolate recipes to go in there. But I think I might move one of my jars of starter to the fridge because I do have 2 regular starters and I want to start another one because so many people have been asking about the journey that I was like, oh, I could do a starter up, show everyone. I have a friend who wants some starter too, so I'm going to give her some. Let me give this a nice flip. And overboard. We want these to crisp up as much as possible before we add in our potatoes. I'm going to turn it up a smidge. And now we're going to do our press and folds on our biscuits here. So we've got our nice dry shag. And we're going to press and fold until they form together. And the trick here is not to knead your dough, but to press, and I kind of fold it over. We're going to press and fold it over. Every press and fold is going to create your flaky layer in your biscuit. If you knead your biscuit dough, you are going to have a very stiff lump. So just press and fold. And you can just pick up those crumbs and just press them in here. That butter in there will help everything cook together. And when it bakes up, the butter layers in there melt together to give you your delicious biscuit. Okay. Let's press this out. I think we've gotten close to getting our first sets of biscuits where we can cut them out. You're going to push them to about 1 inch thick. And then I have my parchment paper lined baking sheet. And we're going to cut out our biscuits. Actually, I think I grabbed my shortbread biscuit. I don't need quite that big. Let's grab a slightly smaller. These would be pretty big biscuits. So I want about a 2-inch biscuit, not a 3-inch. So you can kind of see the flaky layers in that. That's from that press and fold. So we're going to try to get all of these out of here. And they're just going to be delicious, flaky, perfect for jam. And I do have grape jam, so my 15-year-old won't have a freak out. I can't remember when it was, but I made biscuits once and I didn't have grape jam. And she lost her mind. Must have been the hormones. But it's kind of a running joke now. Even for her Christmas in her stocking, she had two jars of grape jam. And I'm the person who thinks grape jam or grape jelly is like the grossest thing ever. But she loves it. I don't know where she got that from. It wasn't from me. But now I always make sure I have it on stock for her, just to save us the world in case she has a meltdown. Here we go. See if I can get one more out. You can see these flaky layers are even coming apart as I cut. Just slide them back on. Now, these are going to be my Frankenstein biscuits. So you've got to kind of press them together. But you don't want to do too many press and folds because, again, you want them to be as flaky. But I will tell you, they never look as pretty. So when they pop out of the oven, my middle ones, you're going to see they're not going to be as pretty as my other ones. Or Frankenstein's monster, to be correct.
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. And then this guy will be a cute little itty bitty one. This will be a baby Jack biscuit. And he will just explode everywhere. Okay, we're going to brush them with a little bit of cream. And then we're going to pop them in the oven. I'm going to keep them all just cream brush. If you like to have sweet biscuits, or half and half I'm brushing them with, then you could sprinkle a little bit of sugar over them and they'll have a nice little sweet crunch. But I'm going to leave it open in case anybody wants to put steak or fried egg in their biscuit. Got to give options. You know, growing up, my mom used to always tell us, well, I can't please you all. And I'm always like, why can't you find something we all like? And I was, you know, I was the youngest of 10. She had 7, and I had 3 older half brothers from my father's previous marriage. So she was just like, there's too many opinions, can't keep everyone happy. So somebody was always unhappy. And now I realize with 5 kids, there are very, very few meals of mine that all kids like non-existent. So I now understand that, and I kind of feel bad for giving her a hard time about it. Okay, we've got our biscuits in here. We're gonna have these bake at 400 for 18 minutes. There we go. And then I'm gonna give my hands a quick wash because they have been bisquified. I'm gonna scoop some of these crumbs in here so I can clean up my biscuit area just a smidge. And there we go. Now we've got you can see our bacon is crisping up and it has sweated out its lovely fat, which is what we want. We're gonna add our potatoes in. And the reason we don't add our potatoes in any sooner is once you add these potatoes in, that bacon's gonna stop crisping. So we want them to crisp up nicely. So we're gonna add them in. Oh, lost the soul. All right. And then I'm gonna kind of coat all of these potatoes in the bacon grease. That way they will be all, because potatoes are like sponges, so they'll soak up the grease. And if you don't really kind of cover them all right away, then you're gonna have some parts that don't have any on it, and then they won't crisp up as nice. So always give it a nice little stir around. There we go. And then let's prep our veggies that are going to go in our skillet. I've got some green onions and some sweet peppers. And these are just going to go into our little skillet, add just a little crunch, a little flavor. I will season up the potatoes, but not until the very end. I always wait till the end to season my potatoes so those spices don't stick onto the bottom of my skillet and burn. And I just think it keeps the flavors on them longer. So we'll let them crisp up. Here, I want to spread these out a little bit more. Then also the trick for really crispy potatoes is you put them in and you let them fry for a hot minute without touching them. You've got to not stir them or move them around. If you do, then you're going to get soggy potatoes or mushy versus crispy edged. So you got to let them be. So we're going to cut up our sweet peppers here. And then we'll add these in just a second, and they'll kind of saute up with the potatoes. Now, if you were going to have onions, I'm just using green onions, but if you were going to do onions, you'd want to saute the onions first before putting in the potatoes. But we're just going to do green onions, which don't need that extra time to caramelize. There. Now, get our green onions going. I'm going to just cut off these kind of, this whiter end right there, those little roots, we don't need that. And then I'm actually going to save this white little bit. I'm going to slice it, but we're going to use it to flavor the butter that we saute our steak bites in. So I'm going to use the nice bright white parts for that. We'll give a nice oniony flavor. I'm going to save these over here. And then these can all go in my skillet potatoes.
You had someone asking for the biscuit recipe. What's the best way to get that?
We do upload all of our videos onto the link on our page. So you can always go there, find it, and then just copy from the video. But I do believe I have this video posted as a recipe card also on the link on the page. You'll just have to go there and do a little searching. But I'm pretty sure this is one of my OG recipes that I have shared for everybody. So that is up there. Okay, we've got these two. Let's get our steak. I'm gonna move my steak over here since I have a little bit more room. Grab my seasonings. Yes, these are for the steak. And let me grab this escaped potato. Okay, let's get our steak chopped up. I'm gonna get I'm blanking on what I call this now. Cleaver. I don't know. I kept saying clutch, and I'm like, it's not a clutch. It's a cleaver. But great for cutting meat. Works so much better than a big chef knife. Since we're doing cubed, I'm going to... You say clutch? I know, that was what my mind was saying. And I'm like, it's not a clutch. But on my head, that's what it was saying. My mind doesn't work all the time, guys. Yet in my mind, I was thinking it was a clutch. I know. Not completely unrelated and random. I'm going to cut off. This one has a bit of fat on it. So we're just going to cut this big fatty chunk off. But then the rest, we're going to cube this meat up into nice kind of 1 inch by 1 inch bite-sized pieces because we're doing nice steak bites that will saute off in some lovely kind of green onion and garlic butter, which I think will go lovely with our skillet potatoes. And these are just petite sirloins for it, which, you know, I was going to say I'm not wasting a super nice cut of meat on skillet or steak, you know.
Oh, I was reading a question. Did you just answer it? What kind of steak?
Yes, just petite sirloin. It's, you know, when you're cutting it up and you're cubing it, you don't need nice, pretty fillets. It'll be nice and tender. It will sear up nicely. So don't waste your money for something like that. Use the cheaper cut for this. You know, petite sirloin is great. It's typically like the end cuts of their sirloin, so you get the good sirloin meat, just not in a pretty shape, which is perfect for steak bites. And my kids will like it because they're going to be like, oh, you already cut up my steak for me. I realized for the longest time, for even my 13-year-old and my 15-year-old, I kept cutting up their steaks. And I'm like, and it was about a year ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're 12 and 14, and they don't know how to use a steak knife. What have I done? And so, you know, we're like, okay, guys, it is time for you guys to learn how to use a steak knife. I don't know why I've kept you sheltered for this long. And, you know, they were pretty pathetic at it. They still are. My 13-year-old son, he cut himself. And I'm like, how do you cut yourself? Like, you know, you hold it like this. Like, you shouldn't cut yourself. He did. You know, they're still not great at it. I think Lena picked up really well with it. Evie, my 9-year-old, she's doing great with it. But for some reason, my 13-year-old, his steak cutting skills, that leaves a lot of room for improvement. He's just like, he cuts it into a big chunk and then he just bites around it off of his fork. And I'm like, I can't take you out in public. If you eat like this, I can't take you out in public. I keep threatening to send them to cotillion classes. My parents made me do cotillion when I was a kid. Oh, so yes, if you're not in the South, cotillion is classes where you go to learn your highbrow manners. You learn to eat, you know, the European style, which I already ate growing up because my mom's from Sweden. But you learn all of the rules and etiquettes, dancing, how to fill out your dance card, how to respond to an invitation, things that are pretty much dead. Nobody uses anymore. But they still do them here in the South. I turn this down, but you see we're flipping our potatoes here. Look at those lovely crispy potatoes. That's why you don't want to flip them often. You want them to get those frying up there. But every time my kids like do something that I'm just like, where are your manners? I'm like, you know what? We're signing you up for cotillion. And they're like, no, please don't. Half their friends go. I'm part of it going on there, except I just don't want to spend like $400 for them to learn manners when I'm like, okay, guys, let's get it together. Okay, let's get for our steak. We're going to get it going. Let me check actually the biscuit time. Good. We've got about 10 minutes, so we can get these steak bites going.
What's with the potatoes?
We have bacon, so we cooked up about a pound of bacon first until it was crispy. We threw in some yellow potatoes, and now we've got green onions and red sweet peppers in there to give it some nice things. We'll add some spices towards the end, but we want them to kind of season up first. We're going to add in our butter. Now for the steak bites, to get that really good thing, you're going to use a lot of butter. So I'm using about 4 tablespoons of butter because you want that butter to really be on it and covering it and crisp it up. And then I'm frying it, and this is called a scan pan. I love it. We apparently get lots of comments about it. It is a metal pan that has a cast iron coating. So it's not heavy like a cast iron. You don't have to season it like a cast iron, but it has that nice kind of rough skillet coating that gives you that really great fry. And you just don't have to do all the work. I absolutely love this pan. My mom got it for me for like Christmas 2 years ago or something like that. I have no idea where she got it, but I love it. They make a couple of different variations of it.
What's the brand?
It's called Scan Pan, SCAN, and then PAN, because I think it's a Scandinavian brand, which would be totally on brand for my mom, because she's one of those things, if you tell her it's Swedish, she'll just buy it. You know, she's got her love for her, her home country and everything like that. But even though I like to point out that she only lived there till she was 7 years old, and that was like 65 years ago or something like that. 60 some years ago. So definitely been a while. So let's get this butter melting. Want the butter nice and hot before you add in the meat. We are going to add in the white parts of our green onion. So we put the green parts in here. The white parts are going to go in here because this is going to give it a lovely flavor that's going to kind of infuse into our steak. Let's take our steak meat over here. I'm going to just spread it out with my knife. And a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. You want to use about a teaspoon, not a lot, because we do want this to sizzle up nicely, so you don't want to drench them. So just a nice little sprinkle over. That acidity kind of binds with the fat and makes it tender and juicy. Then we are going to give it a nice sprinkle of ground black pepper. You can always ground it fresh yourself. I personally like it pre-ground because it's not as strong. Fresh ground pepper is much stronger in flavor and much spicier in my opinion. So I prefer a little weaker because I'm a spice baby. And then a good helping of garlic salt. And then we're just going to flip this all over and kind of do the same on the other side. And then I'll have to give my hands a nice wrench. Black pepper. Made my hand dirty over here. Got my garlic salt. You always want to coat it all the way around. And a little bit of drizzle. Let's coat them up. Let them kind of soak up. There we go. We're done with this. I'm going to give my hands a quick rinse. Okay, let's give our potatoes a little stir here. I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to stir them up now because I've got those onions or the sweet peppers and the green onions in here. So I'm going to stir them and then we'll spread them out. And then I'm going to turn them up to about a 6 now. And I'm going to press them down because we do want those crispy edges to start forming. Let's see. I'm going to have these green onions kind of saute up and infuse. I'm going to turn it down a little bit lower because I don't want my butter to brown just quite. There we go. We are going to add in our steak bites here. 4 minutes, perfect. Trying to get everything done to be right at the same time. Now the trick is to keeping your bites nice and crispy. Don't overcrowd them. Give them plenty of space in here to kind of fry up and crisp up. So if you have to do them in batches, do them in batches, because if they seize and let all their natural juices come out, then you're going to have like not crispy edge steak, which is what you want. So I'm trying to make sure none of them are touching each other as I put them in. And you want to keep your temperature fairly high. Have it at about like a 7, 8, so that they can crisp up nicely. And I like to cook my steak bites. I aim for medium rare, where they're crispy brown on the outside and pink on the inside. There we go. See if I can spread a couple more. We'll just be adding them in. I added it to my outer edges kind of first before my middle, because the middle of my pan is going to be hotter than the outer edges because it's slightly larger than my skillet. Or my skillet's slightly larger than my burner. And I'm going to turn it up a smidge, because as we add the cold meat in, it's going to cool the pan. So I always like to have a little room to keep increasing the heat. There we go. Got these crisping up nicely in here. And while those are searing on their side, they won't need too long. I'm going to mince up some fresh parsley that we will coat over our steak, give it a little freshness towards the end. Picked them from my garden. We gave them a good rinse in. And now we'll mince them up nice and fine, because again, I don't want super leafy bits on my steak, but I do like the nice fresh flavor that the parsley will give to them right at the end. And there we go. Let's look. You can see you got like the nice little browning there. You can start to see them starting to turn a little brown around the edges, which is what you want. Want them to kind of crisp up, so I want to wait until they've got like a nice little sear on them before I flip them. Get this. There we go. Look at that beautiful golden edges there on our crispy potatoes. Oh, that's the best part. Okay. We're going to spread them out, and now we're going to season them. I'm going to use, this is like some Mrs. Dash's table blend, just Costco's version of it. We're going to give a nice coating over the top. It's going to be about probably a teaspoon and a half. I'm not going to mix it in yet. I let it kind of steam up to let those flavors out. And then we're going to use some garlic salt. And a little bit of black pepper. And we'll flip those in just a second. Biscuits are coming. So let's go grab those out of the oven. Okay. We've got our beautiful golden biscuits. That cream coating on the top gives you such a luscious biscuit. Let me grab my trivet here. Beautiful. And then if you look in the middle, you can see my Frankenstein biscuits, where when you try to piece them together, They just never turn out beautiful. I will say one turned out pretty nice, but these two, they're the Frankenstein. But all of my other ones, you can see they just have lovely, beautiful, flaky golden layers. And that cream on the top gives them a nice golden color that they're just delicious. Let's flip all of our meat here. You can see we've got these just nice sears on them. And hard to tell with the steam escaping. And now we'll give them a nice toss. There we go. And then, dog will be happy later. I lost a steak bite. Yes, it went overboard. My husband's devastated, but I think Loki's ears just perked up. He's like, steak is on the menu. Now, I'm going to move this over to our warming tray because I don't want them to overcook before the rest of our meal is ready. So that's why I flip them, cook them high, and it will sit there and it will keep them nice and tender on a medium rare. It's the steam gods. Okay, let's get our eggs going. Let me turn on my skillet. We're going to add a little bit of butter in here. We're just going to do some fried eggs that we can place over our skillet. While that is melting, I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to sprinkle my parsley over the top of my steak bites. Add that little fresh flavor to them. And then you have that nice butter in below with that green onions. It just adds such a lovely flavor. Okay, let's get these cooking up. Making sure my butter goes around. Now I'm going to warn you guys, I am not the best fried egg maker. I can flip it, but there are times where it just pops. So we're going to pop these in. We'll cook them up and dinner will be served. And I think the problem is I don't do just a regular sunny side up fried egg. I like mine over easy where you have to flip them. But if you're not careful, if you're not smooth with it, then they just go. But I might just do sunny side up today. I think I have room for one more in here. Save that egg for later. Let's give a sprinkle of salt on here. Making sure they're cooking up. And then we got to toss our skillet potatoes and mix those seasonings in. Look at that. I've already broken an egg. And I haven't even flipped it. Okay.
You have a question? Could you add a little water to the eggs and cover it with a pan?
Yeah, I've done that where you kind of steam it, which I might actually end up doing right here. So what you can just do is I will actually take my steak pan, since it's bigger, I can rest it right on top there. I don't even have to get a lid out. And then that will steam it up and kind of cook it really fast. So we've got our potatoes here. They are done. Let me turn off the heat. But do you just see all of the nice crispy edges on the potatoes, but they're nice and soft and tender? These are what everybody loves. Okay. And we've got our steak bites. I'm going to grab my plate here because we're going to get ready to serve up in just a second because these eggs with the lid on here, they're going to cook pretty fast. See, pretty fast. Turn them up a smidge. We can look at my biscuits here. See, we've got nice golden brown crust here. This is the Frankenstein. This is like the beauty queen. You know what I mean? Turns out perfect. You've got all of the layers in here. Look at this. Just flaky goodness, perfection. And it has just a lovely butter flavor because it has that lovely fresh butter in it. Okay, let's see if we can do it. We cooked them a little faster. I'm going to see if I can do my eggs over easy. My super skinny spatula is in the dishwasher, so we're going to try with this one. Ooh, it didn't pop. The trick is you want to use a really skinny spatula. You want to make sure you're gentle with them. I think that's the key. I'm more of a heavy-handed person. I already popped one. But guess what? They still taste the same. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, guys. Look away. Shield your eyes. You see nothing. These are not the eggs you were looking for. Okay. Turn the heat off because they don't need long to cook on there. So let's get our skillet dinner served. So we're gonna start with our skillet potatoes. Nice serving of those. Then we are going to take our fried egg, flip it over, and then I'm going to pop into it. Look at that ooh sound over it. Just perfection. And our lovely steak bites. Just good serving of steak bites. And then let's not forget our biscuits. Perfect kind of great dinner for tonight. Breakfast for dinner, steak. You can't go wrong with that. Skillet potatoes, fried egg, homemade sourdough biscuits. Just a great, easy, quick dinner on a busy night. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, show you what we're making, hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you want to recreate any of our recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for the video, and watch it again and cook along with me. But guys, thank you again for joining me here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.